Welcome to a musical address with Michael McLean. North Star International is wholly independent of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It does not receive funding or direction from the church. The following content should not be interpreted as official statements of church doctrine, beliefs, or practices. North Star International is not a therapeutic organization. It is a peer-led, lay religious support ministry. Our focus is to support individuals as they seek to align their lives with gospel principles and as disciples of Jesus Christ.
Thank you. I have such a distinct honor today. I get to introduce our keynote speaker, and I don't know about you, but the music of Michael McLean was the soundtrack of my youth. How many people would say that's true? Truly, his music got me through so many youth conferences and girls' camps when all I want to do is put my Walkman on my head, because I can't tell you, and I know you feel the same way, what his music has meant to so many of us. Even to the extent that one of my partners was going through a really hard time, and I wasn't a member of the church then, but I put on the song, "You're Not Alone," and I watched the tears roll down her face as she realized that she had a Father in heaven who loved her. And it was through this song that that message got to her heart. And it is that kind of impact that Michael's music has had on us and on the world. And so for 30 years, Michael McLean has been changing our lives with his songs and his candid messages. He has shared the hard stories, those from his own life and those from others. And he has sung us all the way to the light at the end of the tunnel. It would be a stretch to say that for every person, twist, or turn along my life's path, that Michael McLean has the perfect song. That might actually be true, though. He released his debut album, "You're Not Alone," in 1983, and with every song that followed, his lyrics filled voids, encouraged love, and offered hope. Now, more than 30 albums later, his musical legacy has not only resonated in the hearts of thousands, but continues to be a standard for those seeking meaning and peace. With a background in film, Michael began early in his career making commercials for radio and television, receiving numerous national and international awards for advertising. Such awards included the Clio Award, the National Eddie Award, New York Ad Club's Andy Award, 2 National Emmy Finalist Awards, and the Bronze Lion at the Cannes Film Festival. He later used his film experience to produce and direct several films, including Together Forever, The Prodigal Son, and Mr. Kruger's Christmas, starring Jimmy Stewart. The ever-engaging performer and master storyteller, Michael has shared his beloved Christmas musical, The Forgotten Carols, with more than 1 million people across the country since 1991. Yes, I can read. With humor and heart, the carols have become a beloved tradition for thousands of families who mark the beginning of their holiday season with this magical musical. Celebrating the Light, I don't know if anybody remembers that from EFY in like 1990 something. Yep. Another one of Michael's musicals ran for 5 seasons with the Promise Valley Playhouse in Salt Lake City, and The Garden, an allegorical oratorio written with Merrill Jensen and Bryce Newbert, opened in Jerusalem and has been performed across the country as well as in France, South America, and Russia. His popular seafaring musical, The Ark, enjoyed a New York City debut in 2005. Michael and his wife Lynn have 3 children and 2 grandchildren, and I've discovered that he's actually my neighbor up in Heber, which is the coolest thing ever. And one of the best things I've ever heard is that one of his sons has named his chicken coop Captain Von Chirp Manor. And all of his chickens are named for Sound of Music characters. So in Captain Von Chirp's barnyard, we have Brigitte and Kurt and Friedrich and the Mother Superior and the whole 9 yards. But I just love that. And so I welcome you to open your hearts and your minds to the wonderful music and stories that Michael will share with us today. Can we give him a huge round of applause?
Thank you. Look, I know why you're here, and I know it doesn't have anything to do with me. Some of you know about this church used to call themselves Mormons. I don't know if you know about this, but I know about this, and this is why I know that you're all here. The 14th article of faith. No. Joseph lost it when he lost 116 pages, and it has been revealed to me and sent, and I just thought, for those of you who are not really familiar with it, but it would help you realize why I know it's not about me, it isn't about LGBTQ. Here's why you're here. The 14th article of faith is, we believe, so you know it's true, we believe in meetings. We've hoped for many meetings. We've endured many meetings. We hope to be able to endure all meetings, and if there are excuses for meetings, we seek after these excuses. So in that spirit, I know that somebody said, hey, Friday, what you doing? There's a meeting. Before I get into this, I appreciate you talking about in the introduction, You're Not Alone, that came out in '83. That's not when I first heard it. I wrote it in 1980. It was the theme of this album that Deseret Book was going to not release it because they said nobody will buy a record by a guy who can't sing. And I said, thanks for that fun fact. And then I said, but I'll get really cool singers to sing this. And they said, well, Billy Joel sings his songs. Bob Dylan sings, come on. I said, no, you should do this. You're Not Alone. I think it's cool. It's got really some great singers. Nobody's going to buy a record by a guy who can't sing. And I said, I heard you the first time. Then in September of 1983, the church had a women's conference, the theme of which was You're Not Alone. And cute Jan McCardle sang, and it was sung 3 times throughout the conference that was broadcast through the satellite to church women all over the world, and they sang my song 3 times, You're Not Alone. Next morning, Deseret Book calls up and said, we think that's a great idea. That we just really think that's cool. So the album came out, and I was really grateful, and I started to share these songs. But I think there's something profound that I need to share with you about it. I wrote it, but I didn't hear it here. I didn't hear it here till 1989. 9 years after it was written, it's the first time I heard You're Not Alone. And it wasn't far from here. It was at the Salt Palace. My friend Deborah Bonner called up, and she had moved up from Las Vegas, and she and her family had joined this tribe. And she called me up and she said, Michael, my people are coming to Salt Lake City, the Black Gospel Music Workshop of America. They're coming to Salt Lake City, and they've asked me to sing, and I want to sing one of your songs. Oh, yeah. I guess if it had been Postum, it would have been fine. So they said, my people have come, and they're, when you're a diabetic, you need to have sugar on hand, so I've got an excuse. So my people are coming, and she was African-American, and she wanted to sing one of my songs. I said, this is amazing. 10,000 people at the Salt Palace, and they've asked me to sing, and I want to sing one of your songs. I said, Deborah, this is incredible. When can we get together and rehearse? She said, no need to rehearse. Just let the Spirit be your guide. I said, what key should the Spirit guide me in? And Deborah says, it doesn't matter. I can cut it in any key. So I go to the Salt Palace. There are, in the Salt Palace, the old Salt Palace, 9,000 black faces, 12 white ones. And I got to be one of the lucky white ones that was there. And when you go to one of these things, gospel music, they start, we were supposed to go on at 8:45. It was 11:10. And it's because they, in their tradition, don't end songs quite like we do. Because once they're feeling the Spirit, you know, it's awesome. Best music players in the world. I mean, I grew up in Chicago, New Jersey. I loved soul music. I loved those people, and I was intimidated by them. But they'd sing things that were not part of my tribe. They'd sing songs like, Jesus dropped the charges. Jesus dropped the charges. Jesus dropped the charges. I said, case dismissed, saved by grace. We don't sing these songs. So I'm listening to all these great gospel songs, and I'm getting more nervous because they keep singing, and at 10 after 11, no one's left, but I have to sit at the piano that has been played by people that, it's like Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles and Gladys Knight. I mean, these were fabulous players. And I said, what should I do? What should I do? She said, you just go over there and you play the intro and I'll come in on the refrain. I said, you want me to sing the intro? She said, you sing the intro, I'll come in on the refrain. I'm trembling in my boots. In your hour of doubt, loneliness or fear, whoa, whoa. Making a bond with the black community. Listen to your heart, and this is what you'll hear. And Deborah's right over there, like where that microphone is, and she's got her head bowed, like she's waiting for the Spirit or something. And I go, and she lifts up, and this woman's got a 4-octave range, best singer maybe I've ever worked with. She lifts up her head, and she does. And I can't do it, I wish I could, but she lifts up her head and she goes, you're not alone. And I thought to myself, well, this sounds vaguely familiar. And then something overtakes my hands, and I go, even though right now you're on your... Sing it to me, Deborah. People got up with real Bic lighters and started doing this is way before cell phones. These are actual Bic lighters. 9,000 black people with Bic lighters, and she's singing this song, and I'm playing it like, where did this come from? And she comes to the part of the song that goes, and I know that it's not easy, but I know that it won't last. There's one who loves you more than me. He's sending blessings fast, and things only black people can do. She did that. And then she sings, you're not, and then she hits a note only dogs could hear. Really high. And while she's doing this, I thought, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing something I never heard before. Not the acrobatics, not the spectacular vocal things. I'm thinking, she's singing to me a song I wrote with a perspective and an insight and a feel that was authentic to her. It was authentic to her. And I thought how lucky I was. How lucky I was to have friends that weren't all identical, that didn't see it all the same, and that because they gave authentically and candidly and honestly, my life suddenly got rich. It got spectacularly rich. And I thought, the people who are in this room today may have thought that there's one way to tell that story. The right way. The way everybody else tells that story. And if we could just straighten you all out, there is a pun there. Maybe you'd be just fine. Do you think that it's possible that strangers like us could be friends in just a moment or two? In just a brief time, could we open the doors to our hearts like old friends do? Now, rushing a friendship can be risky for sure. How rare it is to find a real friend. Maybe you've opened up your heart too soon before. And when it was broken, you said, I'm never gonna go through this again. But do you think that it's possible that strangers like us could be friends in just a moment or two? For we may share more of the same hopes and dreams in our lives than we ever knew. For don't we all hope for a world that's more kind, and don't we all pray that war will cease? Deep down inside, don't we all hope to find more hope, more joy, more love, and more peace? Well, I'd like to find a way to open the doors from my heart to yours. Yes, I hope that we can find a way to open the doors from my heart to yours. When I was growing up, my mom told me that there was only one problem with life. What? No, there's only one. What? She said, no background music. I said, what are you talking about? She said, Michael, everything would be better in our life if our lives were like the movies. So there was music to clarify things. I said, what are you saying? She said, like when your dad came home from the war and we met on a blind date, and 8 weeks later, he's saying, Marty, I think there's something going on beyond friendship. And he went on for 20 minutes. He was proposing. I had no idea what he was talking about. But if there had been music, Martha. Oh, Martha. I think there's more, Marty, than just friendship happening here. In fact, oh, Marty, I think this is love. Yes, this could. Where was the music when I needed it? To make things clear. She said, and I could have raised you better. Michael, clean your room. Or, Michael, you cleaned your room. If there was just music, everything would have been clearer. Well, I choose to believe that that's the case. I'm grateful that I got to be a songwriter. And when I was making my notes, trying to prepare for this event, and I thought of all the, when you get to be my age, when you're 69, you love the sound of your own voice. You just love it. Oh, we have such wisdom, we got such insight. Which of all my many cool insights could I share with this group that will bless them? And then I thought, well, it would probably be appropriate, given my spiritual background, to pray about this event. That I should maybe say, Heavenly Father, what of my great wisdom and all my spectacular songs that are so, at least according to the intro, are life-changing, what is it that I can do that will just bless everybody? And the heavens opened. And the Spirit said to me, what? You don't know anything. And nothing you say in all your 69 years of wisdom is what they need. This is God speaking to me, I know what they need. Just sing the damn songs and I'll let them know. So I'm not gonna do a lot of comments, but I've written some new songs that I haven't performed anywhere. And trust the gay guys to clap real loud. But the first one is, I was thinking about how we tell each other. We are so good at this in our culture. We love, oh my gosh, we love to tell each other what we all need to do and how to do it and the way to do it. And is that the spirit, or is there something else about the... Does that mean get on with it? Okay. So here's a new song. I had a heart attack in February, and I thought this was interesting. I had 3 stents 6 weeks after my heart attack, just a little while ago. 2 o'clock in the morning, a song wakes me up. And I think it was part of what I needed to share tonight. This is what it woke me up with. God said, love your enemy. I cried for help because my heart had frozen up on me and it won't melt. I've fought the inner demon since I was just a child. I've been kicking and been screaming 'cause I could not be reconciled. But God said, love your enemy. And so I've prayed to see things so differently and not be afraid to find a way to love him, to change the way I felt about my lifelong enemy, the one I've fought relentlessly, and now my heart is teaching me that I can love myself. I think today, finally, I can obey and love myself. I think the reason I became a songwriter is it's how God talks to me. It's how I figure stuff out. And of all the commandments that I've been beating myself up for not being very good at doing, the one I haven't addressed very well is love your enemies, love those that are the bad guys. And I can't, well, I'm getting better at it, but I haven't learned how to do it for myself. And maybe the song was sent to me because my line has always been, songwriters don't own songs, they just hear them first. And maybe sometimes a song can teach me the truth the only way my heart can hear it. And I started to think about your theme of trusting in the Lord and what I could maybe offer as a song. And this is a song that has never been heard by anybody until now. Maybe you've been judged or hurt or shamed. Those are wounds that truly need to heal. It's not for me to blame you for hating those who should be blamed, but maybe there's a way to change how we feel. And just because your journey has been hard doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Just because you thought you'd never have to climb so far doesn't mean you won't arrive today. Trusting is gonna lead to believing what you need to find the way to end a lifelong war you've been fighting but don't need to anymore. Could it be we're limiting the Lord setting boundaries for the work he does. Maybe you could burn those gates down with a flaming sword and cross those borders straight into his love. Trusting is gonna lead to believing what you need to. Find a way to end this lifelong war you've been fighting but don't need to anymore. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da. Now this part, this ba-ba-ba-ba, I was listening to the hits. People do this a lot. They don't have anything to say, but it's cool. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da-da. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da-da. Let's see how cool this is. Everybody from here over, do this. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da-da. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da. You know, I wrote a note to myself when I thought about asking people to sing with me, and I thought, sing-alongs are cheesy. And then I thought, wait a minute, these are gay people. And trans people, they'll get this. This is the only fans I have that will get this. So, ba-ba-ba-da, 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 ba. Louder. Okay, middle section, this is your part. It's the chorus. Very clever the way this will work. Trusting is gonna lead to believing what you need to. Find a way to end a lifelong war you've been fighting but don't need to anymore. 2, 3, 4. Trusting is gonna lead to believing what you need to. What you need to. Find a way to end a lifelong war you've been fighting but don't need to anymore. 2, 3, 4. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da. I'm loving this. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-ba. Chorus people. Trusting gonna lead to what you need to. I know it's really tough. They got the easy ba-ba-ba-ba. They're not going to screw up the lyric. Heavy pressure, I know this. But the theme, right, is trusting in the Lord. I kind of like this. Trusting is going to lead to what? Believing what you need to. Find a way to end. Not that all of you have had this all your lives, but my gay son has. Find a way to end a lifelong war you've been fighting but don't need to anymore. Okay? Now, that side, this is your really cool part to this, okay? You will sing this. Trusting, believing. For those of you who are old, think Electric Light Orchestra. Trusting, believing, ending the war you've been fighting but don't need to anymore. This way, all the trans people that sing high and all the gay people who want to sing, I'm trying to be inclusive. I'm trying to get the vibe right. So you've got your ba-ba-ba-bas, right? You've got your trusting. You're kind of the spiritual group that want to go back to church. And these people over here, here we go. Are we having fun yet? Here we go. Trusting. Woo. Now, are you with me here? Or are you too far away to feel the Spirit? Okay. Trusting, That's a good part. Believing. Ending. Ending the war. You've been fighting, but don't need to anymore. Just I'll give you a chance to show off by yourselves. Here we 2, 3, 4. Trust. Believing. Ending. Ending the war. I sound terrible up there. You've been fighting, but don't need to anymore. 2, 3, 4. Stop. Yeah, everybody together sing. We've been fighting, but don't need to anymore. We've been fighting, but don't need to anymore. I don't want you to forget that. We've been fighting, but don't need to. My son told me that. He said, Dad, he said, I've been fighting this. I'm just sick of fighting. He said, you know what? All the things that have made it so hard for me. Coming out, it's tough enough to be a gay kid in the straight world, but to be... It's tough enough to be a gay kid in the straight world, but to be the son of the songwriting icon of the Mormon Church, it's too much. It's too much. And I'm struggling, and it's hard. But you know what? 16 years of therapy, and I'm just tired of fighting it. He said, I just want to be authentically myself. I want to be authentically myself. And he said, this would be helpful to, I know I'm not supposed to talk a lot, but I need to say this. After Jeff had come out and he got married to someone he'd fallen in love with on the national tour of Legally Blonde, there were only 3 states at the time that you could get legally married in, and one of them was Vermont. And so we were invited to go up, and it was, oh my gosh, it was a spectacular production. And I tried to be what I thought was the supportive, helpful dad. But of course, when you go to a gay wedding, that everybody from the New York City theater world is looking at you with suspicion. When are they going to crack? When are they going to show how totally uncomfortable and awkward they are with this? When are they going to reveal their real hearts? They're the enemy. And so I'm trying my best with Lynn to be gracious and to be kind. And it's still a little awkward for me. So it was a spectacular who's who of New York theater people singing at this wedding. But the production of the wedding didn't mean that they had a fantastic marriage. Sadly, it fell apart, and Jeff's heart was broken. And then he had been doing national tours and had some difficulties, was also almost going to be in the Book of Mormon musical, and then through some political things, that didn't work out, and he was broken. And I was worried about him because he'd been trying to kill himself, and his way of killing himself was meth. If I just do meth long enough, the abomination that I have become for my whole family will be wiped out. This will be my drug of choice. So I got a kid who not only wanted to leave the church I raised him in, but is now aching because he is so broken that he's looking to self-medicate and hopefully die. Because he said, it would be better for everybody if I just wasn't here. And I was worried about him. He was in New York at the time, and I called him up, and I said, Jeff, do I need to come out? Sidebar, do suicide watch. Do I need to just be with you so you don't do something that you can't undo? And he, no. And then finally I said, why don't you just come home? And then I heard him say, can I? Oh. My son said to his dad, when I said, come home, and his default answer is, can I? And then, of course, whatever it was that I have done to make it necessary for him to say that needed to be repaired, and it wasn't going to be an overnight thing, but it was this painful, awkward, can I? And it wasn't just for me. Can I come home to Heber City and will it be awful? Everybody knows I'm gay. Everybody knows I got married and off the covenant path. And after he said, can I, there was this awkward silence. And I didn't know what to do, so I said, well, Jeff, what good is it having a gay kid if you don't come home and help us all redecorate? And I'm thinking, oh, won't that be witty? So Jeff comes home, and God bless Heber City. Everybody was so thrilled that he was back. They weren't layering on judgment. They weren't hurting him. They weren't blaming or shaming. They were see him and Jeff, you're back. We missed you. We love you, love you, love you. And slowly but surely, and I knew he was broken because it was silent in my house. This is a kid who never didn't sing. Silence. No singing. 6 months, everybody trying to help him get a job as a voice coach and helping him and putting our arms around him. And I start to hear a little bit of a I think he was singing bum bum bum. No. And suddenly he's singing again, and I'm thinking, we're getting him back. He's coming back. He's feeling home. And then it's Sunday afternoon, 6 months after Broken Jeff comes home. It's Sunday afternoon, and I'm leaving to go get my temple recommend renewed. And he says, where are you going, Dad? I'm going to get my temple recommend renewed. What? Dad, it's Sunday. Your mom loves that temple so much, and I love being with her. Got to get the temple recommend renewed. He says, and he's been on a mission. He'd been in doubt. He'd left the church, but he knew the program. He said, Dad, I got a tip for you. What? I have something that'll be really helpful in that interview. What? He says, come here. So I get close. He says, are you listening? If you need to, take notes. No, I'm listening. He said, the answers are yes, 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 no. Yes, no, no, yes, no. And I said, and I was laughing, and he was chuckling, and I said, your point? Listen to this. He said, my point is, you and my mom, you're my Mormon parents. And you're most at home in that temple. When they ask you questions about that temple, you just say yes, yes, no, no, and don't elaborate to show solidarity with your son or expressing your frustrations with policy. You shush, 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 shush. Because don't say anything that would keep you and Mama from the place that you are most at home. I know that you love me. And it should never be required in our house that to show our love for each other, we cease to be our authentic selves. Wait a minute. You're not supposed to be smart. You're not supposed to teach me the truths. I'm the dad. I'm supposed to have those answers, and I haven't. And I've made way too many mistakes. But he began that process of teaching me. The last time I was at a similar event like this was after Tyler Glenn from Neon Trees had done a keynote speech down in Provo. And I was the other guy telling a little bit about my story and some of my faith crisis challenges. And it was cool because Steve Young and his wife were there, and it was I couldn't speak in a complete sentence around him. I just, let's go back and relive the 49ers heyday. And he and Barb said, thanks for sharing your story about your journey with your son. And then this. A couple years later, they called up and said, Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons is going to do the first ever LoveLoud concert to reach out to the people who are having a real hard time with the LGBTQ2A challenges. And we're going to have big bands singing, and you're not a big band. But we'd like you to take a few minutes and speak. And I said, I don't think there's anything that I would say in that speech that would matter. And then I had this feeling, but what if Jeff would sing with me? I said, if you'll let us sing together. The conservative Mormon dad and the left the church gay kid. What if we sang together? And I asked Jeff, I said, what should we sing? And this was interesting. He said, Dad, there's only one song we can sing, and you wrote it way before I came out, but I think maybe God was trying to get you ready for it. Let's sing that one. I didn't know what I was writing about at the time, but 15 years later, this is what I accompanied him singing. There are refugees among us that are not from foreign shores, and the battles they've been waging are from very private wars. And there are no correspondents documenting all their grief, but these refugees among us all are yearning for relief. There are refugees among us. They don't carry flags or signs. They are standing right beside us in the market checkout lines. And the war that they've been fighting, it will not be televised, but the story of their need for love is written in their eyes. This is a call to arms, to reach out and to hold the evacuees from the dark. This is a call to arms, to lead anguished souls to safe harbors of the heart. So there's 20,000 people and just a piano, and there's silence as Jeff sings, can you see through their disguises? Can you hear what words won't tell? Some are losing faith in heaven because their life's a living hell. Is there anyone to help those who have nowhere else to flee? For the only arms protecting them belong to you and me. This is a call to arms, to reach out and to hold the evacuees from the dark. a call to arms to lead the anguished souls to safe harbors of the heart. Can you feel the pleas of the refugees for safe harbors of the heart? So years later, after having sung that song together, people started saying to us, wow, how did that happen? How did the guy who's still in the church and the son who's out of the church, how did that happen? But what they were really asking was, did that really happen? What's the real deal? Who's being quiet? Who's not telling the truth here? Who's kind of covering it up because this might be a little too difficult? I have to share something that happened. A lot of things happened, but this particular one, I got some really cool video that I really want to share with you. Jeff and I decided that we needed to work on a book together to answer that question, what happened? And what's the process? And 16 years of trying to sort this out and all the ups and downs that come with that. And we talked to the therapist that we've worked with about how do we help other LGBTQ youth? How do we help people within our tribe manage this and maybe take a 16-year reconciliation and maybe help them cut it down, or at least think about things that could help them cut it down. And so one of the things that while we were writing the book is Jeff said, Dad, we need to have a legacy of all your songs, your 40 albums and all the things that you've done, and I want to help you because I'm the gay kid, so I'll make it look cool. And I said, okay, so we started working on this thing called Songwriter Sunday School. And one of the things as we put together how this application and website would work is he said, Dad, we really need to launch this. You're a songwriter, write a really cool song that would speak to the LDS community and be really great. And since it's the 200th anniversary coming up, he said, of Joseph Smith in the Grove, maybe you could write a really cool song and we could get people interested. So I thought, well, that's kind of a good idea. If I had a good idea for a really good song about the first vision that hasn't been thought of before. I go into my studio right after the Forgotten Carols, and I write a song called He Looked Up. And I started to have, and my son-in-law, who produces the Forgotten Carols, was very encouraging, and he said, this could be really great. So I started to think, fantasizing, who are the big shot singers that could sing about this? And Jeff's a spectacular singer, but he'd left the church, and I thought, I don't want to put him on that kind of an awkward spot. And I thought of all the big shots that we know, and I called them all, thinking because I should have Becky call them and tell them what a big deal I am so that they'd sing. And it didn't do any good. They were not interested. And no orchestra was interested, and no arrangers were interested. And I said, no, I think this song is cool. It could be really, really neat. And then the pandemic hit. So it became impossible to get a great singer and orchestra, even if we could pull it off. It's 4 days before the celebration of the 200th anniversary of what's a big deal for Mormons, which is Joseph Smith seeing Jesus in the Grove. And I've got this song that's just a little demo. And I'm sitting in my office thinking, well, this was one more disappointment, welcome to life. And my son walks in and said, Dad, Heavenly Father's been bugging me. Really? He told me I needed to help you get that song produced. The one about He Looked Up from the point of view of Hiram. Dad, I think I need to do that. I said, well, how are you going to? I appreciate the offer. It's very kind. But we can't get 3 people in a studio together, and it needs kind of an orchestral thing and blah, 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 blah. He says, I've got some friends. And I said, well, we don't have time for this. He said, will you give me 4 days? I want to help you do something that matters to you. So over the next 4 days, he calls in favors over the internet, gets cool producers. He said, by the way, I'll make it cool but spiritual. I like that, cool but spiritual. He said, it'll get to a broader audience. He comes back and he plays me this track that he had created. And then he said, and Joe, his new love, they just got engaged, and we're crazy about him. He's a returned missionary who, like Jeff, had left the church, but they are making each other's lives so much better. He said, Joe is genius at social media stuff. And I know we don't have any money, but I think we could make a really cool music video. Let me do this for you. Joe, are you in? And Joe says, yeah, we'd love to do this. So 5 days after my thinking all is lost, they bring and put on the internet this. This is about Hiram Smith's take on his brother's vision.
In the distance, the prisoners could see a crowd around a jail called Liberty. Then the leader of the others smiled and told his older brother, they're all here to guess which one is me. And Hiram, I predict they all will think it's you. If I were God, you'd be the one I'd choose. You have the stature and demeanor of a great religious leader. You're the one I'd give the vision to. Then the older brother told them, I know why I wasn't chosen. If it had been me who said that prayer